Good evening, everyone. Would you please take your seats? Welcome to the town meeting. Today we have one item on the agenda, as you know. Just a few housekeeping events. If you could please silence your cell phones at this time. Anyone who speaks at the microphone, please identify yourself and state your address as well. And just want to thank you all for coming out on this warm day, and we're pretty excited about this grant application and look forward to sharing the details with you. So at this point, our first order of business is to elect a moderator. Are there any nominations? Yes.
I elect Justin Donnelly for moderator this evening.
Great. Do we have a second? Great. Are there any other nominations? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of Justin Donnelly being the moderator of tonight's meeting, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Good evening. As our first order of business, I would ask that you all rise, face the flag, and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance, if you would, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The only ground rules for tonight are, I will first ask after the presentation is made and we have a motion on the floor that's been seconded. I will first ask for questions and then comments. I would ask that you keep your comments to around 5 minutes. That's not a hard and fast, but that's a rule that I've always put out whenever I've moderated a town meeting. But in any event, first questions and then comments. And again, I'll just reiterate with what Melissa Mack said, and that is please identify yourself with your name and address. And with that, I will ask for a presentation so that before I ask for that presentation, I will ask the town clerk to read the legal notice for tonight's meeting.
Hi, good evening. Thank you. I am Kathy Dunai, your town clerk, and this is a legal notice that appeared in the Journal-Inquirer on May 20th. Notice is hereby given that a town meeting in the inhabitants of the town of Suffield, Connecticut, qualified to vote in town meeting, will be held in the auditorium at the Suffield Middle School, 350 Mountain Road, on Wednesday, May 25th, 2016 at 7 p.m. for the purpose of wit, to authorize application for the Main Street Investment Fund grant for $500,000 from the Department of Housing for site work at Bridge Street School Community Center. Dated at Suffield, Connecticut, this 18th day of May, 2016, Board of Selectmen for the town of Suffield, Melissa M. Mack for Selectman, Timothy Reynolds, Selectman, Joanne Sullivan, Selectman, Mel Shafet, Selectman, and Crystal Holmes, Selectman.
Thank you, Kathy. With that, I will ask for the first selectman to give a presentation. Is going to be given by Patrick McMahon. Patrick, would you please identify yourself for the folks out there and give your presentation?
Thank you, Justin. Good evening, everyone. I'm Patrick McMahon. I'm the Director of Economic and Community Development. And the town has a great opportunity here to apply for up to $500,000. We can apply for up to $500,000 through the Connecticut Department of Housing for the Main Street Investment Fund. Eligible communities are those that have no more than 30,000 residents. So Suffield is one of the communities that is eligible to apply for this. Communities can apply for up to $500,000. We needed to come up with a project that we thought would be hard-hitting. The reason being there's $5 million allocated for this particular program statewide. And that $5 million is in the state budget. It has already been allocated. It won't be changed through the budget implementer or anything along those lines. It's already been funded, so it has no other impact on other programs. The goal of the state is to make awards by September of 2016. So if we're fortunate enough to be awarded, that would be generally the time frame that we would hear about it. Eligible projects, there's a couple of criteria under this particular program. The projects have to be part of a town commercial center plan. In September of 2012, our Board of Selectmen did name the Town Center Village District regulations as our town center commercial plan. So we are eligible from that particular standpoint. The overall goals of the Main Street Investment Program are listed in the next bullet, which is to develop or improve a town commercial center to attract small businesses, promote commercial viability, and improve aesthetics and pedestrian access. Some of the types of projects that communities can make application for include sidewalks, signage, lighting and landscaping, storefront enhancements. You can actually give a reimbursement to private property owners for a portion of their costs to a cap of $50,000. Streetscaping activities, irrigation, drainage, and site amenities like benches and other outdoor patio spaces. So the work that this is really geared to is similar to what we did under the Small Town Economic Assistance Program grants. We got 2 grants, one for $500,000 and one for $400,000 several years ago to put in some of the granite curbing, the islands, the landscaping, street trees. We put in the decorative lighting in the town center. Those are the type of projects that most of the communities are moving forward with in applications. The fact that we already received $900,000 for streetscaping made it unlikely that we would get additional funding. And frankly, what else is there along the Town Center Village District? And I'll show you a map in a second, outside of maybe adding some additional decorative lighting. So we didn't feel that would really rise to the level with the state of Connecticut. So we were trying to find the project that we thought would really resonate. The project can't be normal repair and maintenance. It really has to be something new. It has to be a major new enhancement. So this is a map of our Town Center Village District that's outlined in red. Essentially all of Filer Place is included. It goes from essentially where the post office is to the west. It goes up Mountain Road up the hill, incorporates where the town hall is, Clear Cut Solutions, 11 High Street, 1 Mountain Road. Across the street, it includes where the old Second Chance shop was, includes a portion of the First Congregational Church property up there. And then it also goes across the street and incorporates the land of Webster Bank, the library, the Veterans Park, the Suffield Village, and as you can see, the Bridge Street School site is part of the Town Center Village District, so it is an eligible project for this program. When the town authorized the Bridge Street Community Center through the referendum, there was a $8.4 million budget. A portion of that $8.4 million was designated for site work type activities, which fit this grant program very well, including concrete curbs, walks, bituminous paving and striping. There's a retaining wall that would be required at the parking lot, some field grading, drainage, walkway improvements, playground equipment was in the budget. An accessible field walkway and a sidewalk along the street, as well as site lighting. We'd likely put in the same type of decorative lighting that we've done in the rest of the Town Center Village District. So all of those type of site work related items under that $8.4 million budget comes to $773,750. Now, I will say in that initial budget, there were some other site work items, including demolition And demolition is not really included in this Main Street Investment Fund. So even though there are other site improvements like a retention basin, I did not incorporate that into this particular aspect of the grant application. Those estimates were provided to the town by Silver Petrocelli prior to the bond authorization. Here's the conceptual site plan, and you should have a copy if there was copies on the table. Essentially, we'd be looking at, if I can get this to go. All right, we'd be improving the driveway. Right now, there's just pretty much a 2-lane driveway that cuts around the property. So the concept at this point, and this could change, the Permanent Building Commission has an authorization up to $8.4 million. We'll have a design firm, and they will hammer out these type of items as we go forward. But in essence, they're contemplating the closing of one of the curb cuts, having a loading dock in that general area, having a driveway all the way around the facility for emergency access. We'd have a number of parking spaces added to the site. I don't have a specific count, but that looks like about 40 or 50 parking spaces. We'd also be looking at maybe widening the entryway to Bridge Street itself in order to allow for appropriate traffic maintenance there. New sidewalks along Bridge Street that don't exist today. Linkages from the field up to the school would be part of the program. So those are all eligible type of expenditures under this grant. This might be a little bit difficult to see, but I think everybody's pretty familiar with the general area. Here's Bridge Street School right here. We have 3.5 acres of town-owned property. In the general area, we've got the Brandywine Apartments. We've got the ambulance facility, the senior center. We have the entire 70 units of the Suffield Housing Authority. We have the Suffield Village and the banks, library, et cetera. This fits the criteria of the grant guidelines very well. The Bridge Street School property is, in essence, is a gateway to the town center coming from the east. It's one of the first properties you see as you come into the town center village district. We've got all of these different housing components in close proximity to the Bridge Street School. So by incorporating new sidewalks, that enhances that pedestrian network. I think many people know that sidewalks were installed on the south side of Bridge Street, going all the way down to the assisted active adult housing site further to the east on Bridge Street. The fact that this is right next to this Suffield Village, I think, is really going to be a key component for this application. Because in essence, when we do get the Bridge Street School Community Center operational, you're going to be bringing many more folks to the general area that will utilize Highland Park Market, Suffield Pizza, Tosca, all other small businesses that are in that area, the two banks, and hopefully bring people also to the other businesses that are further down Mountain Road as well. So it does fit the criteria very, very well. So the financial impact, if we are to receive the $500,000, and I can say that the state could also potentially come back and say, well, we're not going to give you $500,000. We want to share the wealth more widely across the state. So they could come back and say, we're only going to give you 200, 250, some other figure. So that is a possibility. The general concept is that if we receive any grant money, that it would reduce the project costs to the community. We did check in with our bond council. Our bonding authority was $8.4 million. If we get the grant, the authority would be reduced to $7.9 million. So then the town would actually save on borrowing costs. So if we are fortunate enough to receive the grant, in essence, we're saving the town through less borrowing. That's the overall concept. The bond allocation itself actually would be a great benefit to the grant application because we're able to demonstrate that the town's on ponying up $7.9 million towards the cost in addition to that $500,000 state grant. So that would be seen as a major positive to the state. The project was recommended by the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance. We do have letters of support from Senator John Kissel, Representative Tammy Zawistowski, and the Capital Region Council of Governments. So they're all lined up and are in our corner. And so the next portion would be to answer questions at this point.
Thank you, Patrick. Patrick has helped to put this in context, and that is to say that this application has been approved by both the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance. The application, this is an application only for the grant. And you're here tonight because the town charter requires any such action for an amount like this to come before the town to be approved by the town meeting, and that's why you're here tonight. With that having been said, do I hear a motion in accordance with what's up in front of you?
Ginny Brumage, 576 North Main. Resolved that the town meeting of the town of Suffield authorizes submission of the funding application, Bridge Street Community Center site enhancements under the Main Street Investment Fund program referenced in sections 78 and 79 of the PA 11-1, and that the first selectman, Melissa M. Mack, is the individual authorized to sign the State of Connecticut Department of Housing Main Street Investment Fund application and administer the grant and the project. Such application is attached to and made a part of this record.
Thank you, Ginny. Do I hear a second to that motion? Second. We have a second. For the record, who made that second? I can't see. Thank you. All right, now is the time to answer, to ask. I'm going to ask you for any questions that you have through the chair to anyone who can answer your question. I got a right there.
James Kazikis, 5 Ridgewood Drive, West Suffield, Connecticut. Question about the $500,000 bond. Now, what you folks are telling me is that the $8.4 million is part of this, or is it on top of this?
So the question is, you're asking if the bond authorization of $8.4 million would be reduced by $500,000, or if we would be increasing it to $8.9 million, correct?
Absolutely.
Yes, and I have the resolution that was passed by the town back in October at the referendum, and it is reduced. We specifically, I'll read the section. That the first selectman is authorized to execute and deliver in the name of the town any grant or other agreements and other documents for the project, and to apply for and accept or reject any grants to defray the appropriation for the project. And so that means if we receive any grants, they defray the amount and they reduce the amount. So what that means is the town is paying less for this project if we are able to offset some by some grant proceeds.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Further questions? No further questions, then I'll open it up for comments. Well, this will set some sort of record, but I see no comments, and I've done many of these meetings. I haven't. I will call for a hand vote. Oh, we have Mr. Sheridan, go ahead. Yes, sir.
My name is Jim Sheridan, 1390 North Grand Street. First off, let me say that I'm adamantly opposed to all grants in the state. I wish the state would get off the towns in this state would get off the government tit and make it on their own, because this is nothing but an increased tax, because if we don't give the state the money in the first place, they can't give it back to us in the second place. This project was brought to a town meeting, and the folks that want this thing won by 100 votes. So you got to understand that this town basically is split 50-50 on this project to begin with. And I want to say that having come to all the town meetings in the last 50 or 60 years in this town, that everything that they do in this town, they sell us this red rosy picture of how great this project is going to be. And let me start with the high school. I went to the meeting when they built the new high school. They allocated $20 million for the new high school. They allocated $15 million for the McAllister Middle School. They discovered that they were $8 million short, so they came back to the town. They took $8 million out of the McAllister Middle School project and gave it to the high school, which that's all right, but I mean, I wish they had done it in the first place, because they just couldn't do what they said they were going to do. Secondly, the senior center, when they put the senior center in, this was going to be one of the most used facilities in the town of Suffield. And the fact of the matter is, there are 3,500 senior citizens in the town of Suffield, and they have an average probably of 50 people a week that use this facility. We spent millions of dollars on a facility, and half the people that go there are from another town, which I understand that's just another socialistic problem anyway, because everybody gets to pay for everybody else, I guess. But like I say, I just think that grants are a false way of taxing you more. You just get to pay more taxes if you give it to the state. And the state is so far in debt, I don't understand how they can be given a grant in the first place. It seems to me that Malloy has really made a disaster of this state. Per capita, we are further in debt than any state in the country, and yet we're giving out grants for a project like this that is in question whether the people really wanted it or didn't want it. They won the vote, and I'll concede that fact, but it was by 100 votes. So you have to understand the town is pretty much split down the middle on this issue. I'm surprised at the turnout here tonight. I wish people would be more involved in their town politics. I mean, I've done a few projects where I took the town on, and I probably am the only person in this town that ever defeated the town on a big issue. And that was the library for $15 million, and then they came back with an $8 million proposal, and that was defeated also. So I think the people really need to look at how we spend our money. This is not anything that's frugal. It's just more, as far as I'm concerned, eyewash. And I'll make a prediction right now. When they build this new community center, if 25% of the voters in this town use that facility, I will be very, very surprised, because if you want to look at a fact, the senior center is so underused, it's not funny, and I'm sure that this will be too. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Sheridan. Comment down here.
Joanne Stafford, 390 Boston Neck Road, Apartment 2, Suffield. All I'm going to say is I'm very proud that our community is doing this community center for the children, with all of the young families moving into town, and some of us thinking of moving out of town after our kids graduate. Give the young children in this town a place to go. Ask the young kids in town if they have any place to go. Wonderful idea, and I applaud the group that went forward with it. Thank you.
Thank you. In the back, towards the middle. technical difficulties.
I can be really loud. Thank you. I do have one comment. See, I told you I can be loud. Aaron O'Brien, Hackenyo's, 229 Kent Ave. I'd like to piggyback on Mr. Sheridan's comment about grants. It seems as though we do have a huge education issue going on in Sunrise Park and bringing special needs children to a very unsafe park. Why aren't we applying for a grant for that park? I do see that, you know, Bridge Street is going to be part of this Parks and Recreation Department. Why wouldn't we be using something like that towards something more important? I guess more of a comment.
All right.
This grant, Sunrise Park would not be eligible for this grant to start out with. And by applying for this grant, it does not preclude us for applying for other grants. And that's one of the things that we have vowed to do in town, is we have a lot of facilities in town that have had deferred maintenance and are perhaps not being utilized up to their potential. We just had an enormous cleanup day at Babs Beach and Babs Recreation Complex. We're looking today, Patrick McMahon and I met with the State Historic Preservation Officer to explore opportunities to obtain historic tax credits to be sold to fund some of our historic properties. So we are looking at all of the different assets of the town to make sure that they are maintained and they are available as resources for our town. So please do not think that by voting in favor of this, that it precludes us from forwarding any other grant application for an important asset. And in addition, while I agree that the state is in difficult economic times, these grants have been appropriated by the state legislature, and if we don't take them, another municipality will. And so my opinion is, you're right, we pay a lot of money from the town of Suffield to the state. Why not get it back for our benefit?
Further comments? The light shines right into my eyes, and my old eyes just don't work. I have to shield my eyes. I don't see any other comments. I'm going to call for a hand vote. That means raising your hands. I'm just demonstrating. The affirmative, that is to say, all in favor, and you raise your hand, that will be in favor of the motion that's on the floor. All right? And keep your hand up so that the town clerk, I haven't called for it yet. Well, that's good practice. It's good practice. All right, I need all the practice I can get. But keep your hands up so that the town clerk and her tellers can, in fact, do a count on the hands. And of course, yes, thank you. The first selectman just pointed out, it's wonderful that many of you are exposing your children to town democracy at its finest, but they are not permitted to vote. You have to be 18 to vote, all right? With that, I'm going to call for an affirmative vote. All in favor, kindly signify by raising your hands. And keep them up, and maybe we can do a dance or something, because I know after a while it gets hard, but we have... okay. I'm going to make a quick observation. I think the ayes have it, but it shows you how brilliant I am. Now, put your hands down. All those in opposition, kindly raise your hands, please. Okay. Can you give me a count? $60 votes in favor, 8 opposed. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Okay. Good night. Thank you very much for your attendance.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Justin.
My pleasure.